Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Leaders Insights with me, Claudine Khaled, Managing Editor at Forbes Middle East. Today, I'm speaking to Khaled Abdullah Al-Qubaisi, CEO for Aerospace, Renewables and ICT at the Mubadala Investment Company. Welcome to the show, Khaled.
It's a great pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for having me for your edition in July. Thank you very much.
So, as we were saying earlier this month, you made a sizable investment, $1.2 billion into Jio Platforms. Can you explain where your interest in that came from and why you think it was such a good investment?
We know the Reliance Group quite well. We've interacted with them previously on other occasions, and we have been interested in entering the Indian market for some time. But we were looking, of course, for the right opportunity. As Reliance restructured the Jio Platforms, we saw the potential in the underlying business model and its long-term upside. We reached out to Reliance and they were open to the dialogue. So we started our diligence on the deal throughout Ramadan. And by Eid, we had approved the deal internally and we closed it just after. This was a unique deal in the way it was executed. Keep in mind, we worked on the deal during Ramadan, around the clock with the 3 different time zones as we coordinated with Reliance, banks, consultants, and others. And this all happened without anyone ever getting on a plane. We did not have one single physical meeting, neither from our side nor their side. It all happened through video conferences, phone calls, and WhatsApp messages. And we shared over 7,500 documents and over 10 gigabytes of data. So as you can see, this is a really special deal that we are really proud of, that we were able to execute in such a condition.
That's incredible, the power of technology. So thank you. So just to stay on that point for a little while, like, what is it about Jio Platforms that you think is such a good investment? Like, what is it about the platform that you think has such opportunity for growth?
Jio Platforms, came out in 2016. It came out of the Reliance Group. They came up with a bold strategy. They invested over $18 billion in their network infrastructure before even switching it on. So they had to invest and put infrastructure for the whole country, to cover the whole country, and then they switched on their network at once. And they came up with a bold strategy. They offered free internet service to customers and free calls. And they managed to gain market share. India had 14 players at that time. And with them starting in 2016, in just 4 years, they were able to be the biggest player in the Indian telecom market. With a share of over 35%, nearly 400 billion subscribers. Imagine 400 million subscribers. How big is that, and how important to have such a customer base? We like the management. We like how they approach their bold strategy paid off. They were able now to get back and utilize their position to charge a fair amount for their services. India is still one of the lowest cost in terms of telecom, phones and data, and they were able to reduce that for the Indian market, and offer access to the internet and to many other services through that. So we see them as changing the world, changing India, enabling Indians and the Indian population to get on the internet and be able to learn more and benefit from it. So we see them changing the world in some way, but also they have a lot of upside with their current data customer base. The telecom side is something which we are, which is very strong, and we think that's only like a normal base case for us, but there's a lot of upside in terms of the technology platform they're offering. So Jio is what we like with it is, there are not many more of these around the world. It's a telecom with huge data kind of angle to it.
So where are you seeing the most opportunity at the moment? Obviously Jio is India. Are you focusing more on emerging markets at the moment or developed markets?
When we look at opportunities, we consider all markets. However, we have a baseline criteria such as a country rating, ease of doing business, political stability, and other elements. Most of these are somewhat reflected in those markets or countries rating agency ratings. We usually look to invest in investment grade and above rated markets and countries, but sometimes we accept one or two notches below based on the deal specifics or our G2G relationships. In today's world, we must look more at frontier markets, which offer sound investment opportunities as well, with an acceptable return to risk ratio. That is where we sometimes find good opportunities. In developed markets, both traditional and non-traditional investors are chasing the same deals, and so the returns have compressed. We've had to shift our focus a bit and either do deals that are more complex in developed markets or go into new frontier markets for us, like what we just did with Jio. It's our first major investment as Mubadala in India, and positions us well for more opportunities as we get to know the market more and the major players.
So do you look for long-term investments or for quick exits? There's obviously two different kind of approaches to investment. What is your strategy, and which do you think has been the most profitable or the most sustainable for you?
At Mubadala, we tend to be more patient, long-term investor. We've seen that developing long-term strategic partnerships provide not only good returns, but a long-standing relationship that presents other investment opportunities down the line. A good example, again, is Jio, because we had good relationships with these companies for a while. That said, each sector has a business plan and an investment strategy, and evaluates investment opportunities according to those plans and strategies. This includes a potential exit strategy. Whenever we make an investment, we always have an exit strategy and timeline for the investment. Sometimes opportunities arise where it becomes the right time to exit a particular investment, and we take that decision. There really is not one right answer. It all depends on the investor, the investment, the timing, other opportunities on the table, and other factors. Things change. We need to be flexible. We have plans. We tend to be long-term investors, but we also are flexible if the opportunities arise.
You made a couple of notable investments last year in the aerospace, renewables, ICT area. What are your expectations for those, and how are they fitting into your strategy for this year?
As a global investor, again, we continue to look at closely at opportunities in sectors such as ICT, which are rapidly transforming the world. I mentioned this about Jio as well. The same holds true for our Ecologics investment, which we did last year. Our philosophy remains founded on investing in innovative businesses with long-term growth potential and market leadership positions. Ecologics is a high-quality company with robust fundamentals in an industry that is growing rapidly and positively impacting the lives of millions of people every day. We did that investment last year based on that. It's recognized industry leader. It's a market leader in Canada with a strong portfolio of clients. In addition, with that, we continued deployment of cloud services. The data center industry is experiencing continued growth. With regards to other investments, for example, we grouped up some of our companies into a company called Sanad. Last year, we created a new industrial champion to foster Abu Dhabi's long-term growth in the global aerospace and industrial services sectors by reinforcing our global aerospace and industrial strategic focus on enhanced customer support throughout superior engineering and excellent leasing solutions. So we've grouped three companies, Sanad Aerotech, Sanad Industrial, and Sanad Capital, into one company. And the idea was to create a new aviation powerhouse that provides a holistic and comprehensive solution to support its customers by investing and employing and deploying fourth industrial revolution technology to transform our global offerings to customers. So this is basically what we're doing.
How does your sector fit into the strategy of the wider company at the moment? Like, how important are your fields in Mubadala's plans at the moment for this year?
The assets we hold are all homegrown greenfield businesses, and they were aimed to create new industries and contribute to the diversification of Abu Dhabi. This still holds true today with companies like Sanad, Strata, Yasat, Tabreed, Injazat, and many others of these companies that we started from scratch building up here in Abu Dhabi. We are creating businesses and industries that not only contribute locally, but they also compete on a global scale. They attract businesses to the region. They bring in new skills and capabilities to our national workforce, and they continue to open doors for the UAE around the world.
What has been the impact on your business, on your sector of COVID-19, and where have the opportunities been in this time?
If you ask anyone in my team about my push for performance, they'll tell you Khaled is always pushing us to get a perfect score. So COVID-19 or not, I didn't give them the excuse to slack. So, well, COVID-19 presented many opportunities as well, even in sectors that were heavily impacted, like aerospace, due to our major exposure to the airline industry, which basically came to a near complete halt, with many airlines grounding their fleet of aircraft. We have Strata, our manufacturing facility in Al Ain, which produces parts for Airbus and Boeing and others as well. Orders were down 50%. We also have an aircraft engine MRO business called Sanad Aerotech, which was affected due to planes being grounded and engine maintenance and overhaul demand declining because of that. However, because we have great management in place and excellent teams in those businesses, we were able to shift and adjust and find some opportunities to soften the impact to a great degree, and sometimes even improve. For example, Strata utilize their excess capacity to explore how they can contribute to fighting the current pandemic and how they can help the country in that manner. And they now manufacture face shields. I'm not sure if you saw that, and also patient shields, which for doctors to attend to critical COVID-19 patients without being exposed or infected. And most significantly, Strata now manufactures the N95 respirators. They are the only ones to do so in the region, with a capacity of 90,000 masks per day. That's nearly 30 million masks a year. Sanad Capital also has worked with airlines, and which is the leasing business, has worked with the airlines and banks to avoid any situation that could result in airlines defaulting, because we have our engines and components with them. If they default or they go bankrupt, it's not good for us. So we worked really well with them to avoid that. Other obvious consequences have been increased demand for remote working and shopping solutions. I'm not sure if your shopping budget has increased or not. I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, our shopping in my household went down tremendously, but shortly after picked up and went to pre-COVID and even higher levels because of the online shopping. So ICT technologies have benefited from that, and therefore more innovation and investment in these technologies. Other consequences have been, identifying resilient industries such as power generation and distribution. These proved to be very resilient, even in these kind of conditions. In ICT, we made a sizable investment in Jio, based on its value, and as I mentioned before, its potential in the future. Also in April this year, shortly into the pandemic, April was really a tough time, but we still managed to close a deal at Tabreed, which is Mubadala is a major shareholder, the largest shareholder, which I chair as well. We managed to acquire 80% of Imar's downtown Dubai district cooling assets at the price of 2.5 billion dirham. It was a major deal at that time. I think one of the largest year to date at that time. And that made Tabreed the largest district cooling provider in the world. And aside from large-scale investment, we've seen significant volatility in the stock market. Actually, these are the opportunities that were so easy and so quick you can make, and you don't really need to be a long-term strategic investor and to benefit from it, because we saw in March a lot of companies that we know very well, their value dropped tremendously, and we knew that it doesn't make sense, because their value holds true even in the pandemic, and shortly after they should go back to normal levels or even better. So we managed to identify a few of those companies, whether in the utility sectors, whether in the aerospace sector, and there were a lot of money to be made in that situation, in that volatility. So we're happy to take advantage of that when the opportunity presents itself.
Do you have like a personal interest in the sectors that you work on? So, outside of work, are you how much of a technology geek are you, and how committed are you to sustainability, for example?
Let's start with the sustainability. I had the first Tesla Model S in the country, so that tells you. I've been having a Tesla since 2013 and driving it. I had two. My last one was a 2014 model, and it's amazing. So it's a 6-year-old car, and I'm still driving it. I really like electric cars, and I think they're the future. So that's on that side. On technology, we're not on the technology side, which you might think of. We have another unit looking at technologies, but we are more like infrastructure on telecommunication. So anything that you need to handle data, whether it's phone calls or internet or data. So that's where we are: data centers, telecoms, IT services and solutions through our company in Jazat. So that's what we work on. So I'm not a huge techie person as well. I get along, but every now and then I call our IT guys to help me out and so on. Right now, our priority is twofold. Of course, the well-being and safety of our teams, who have been working very hard during this pandemic and continue to deliver, as I mentioned, is our top priority. I'm very proud of our people. We would not be in the position where we are today without their hard work. Second priority, and this also answers maybe your question about what we work on, it's very dynamic and volatile, and we need to be agile and nimble as an organization. So our second priority is to ensure that we are well positioned again to take advantage of opportunities when they arise. Many, during this last situation, were not so ready in terms of how to react to such a situation. But now we've been through one of the worst pandemics we've seen around during our lifetime, and we're able to react to it, and we have plans to react if there's a second wave that comes. Hopefully not. We will be able to know how to react to it and how to deal with it.
Thank you. That's very cool about the Tesla. They're beautiful cars. Very cool. One final question then. As a member of Mubadala's leadership team, and having been doing this for a while, what achievements are you most proud of, and what goals do you still have to achieve?
Well, as part of this company leadership, there are so many things to be proud of. Whether it's working with the great leadership, whether it's great colleagues and team members, or working on great investment opportunities. If I had to say, the most satisfaction I get is when I see the great talent and people we have in our companies and have grown to on great values and are so competent in delivering on their responsibilities and beyond. We have seen this, as I mentioned, during this pandemic, and it emphasized that they are our most important assets. So really, that's really the most satisfaction I get when I see that. And we have been in recently in Al Ain. His Highness had a visit the conference of Abu Dhabi, visit one of our facilities, the Strata. And when I see the quality of people in that facility, how they're able to present, how they're able to work on very sophisticated, complex processes. It makes us proud. The most satisfaction you can get when you see this in front of you, and you have the Crown Prince coming and seeing that and commending the effort that happened over there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khaled. That's all of my questions, and you've answered them brilliantly. Thank you.